Okie dokie, folks. We are here, and we've got an open map with players ready to kill. That's what I consider mid-elo. These people are like, raw, I chose violence. Sometimes, anyways. Interesting names. These both could be AI-generated names, as I believe you can do if you use the Microsoft Store. We've got Vital Tie 281 7074. Feels like I could make an advertisement out of that. Are you sick of not impressing your friends with your attire? Well, call Vital Tie 281 7074 to get your tie today. That was pretty good. We've got Vital Tie playing as the Incas in the blue. And then in the red, we've got Red Scare 1881. Now, oftentimes I'll see what looks like a year in people's usernames, and I just assume that that's what year they were born. I don't think this user was born in 1881, but I honestly cannot prove it. So maybe a very old individual, and this individual would probably not view Age of Empires 2 as an old game. Age of Empires 2 is brand spanking new for Red Scare. Red Scare is playing as the Cumans. When I see this civilization, I talk about how they can build the second TC in Feudal. So that's one of their options. But they do have cheaper stables, cheaper archer ranges. Also can make a siege workshop in Feudal. So they've got fun bonuses to work with. And then the Incas can kind of do everything quite well. When I say everything, they of course cannot go for a stable. But for a civilization that loses a third or fourth of the tech tree, whatever you would consider the stable, they could do everything else very well. They've got great archers. They've got great eagle warriors, great halberdiers, champion line solid. Monks are great. Their unique units also great. Their siege is solid too. They've got, I would say, applicable unique units. There are civilizations that get unique units that oftentimes don't find a real place in the game. The Kamayuk, which you can kind of see up here with the awesome little helmet there, our headdress, and then the Slinger, all can be very useful in key situations. 4 on wood here, so I'm trying to get my mid-elo brain on here. We have blue push in a deer. The only thing I could really be critical of with blue so far is honestly just the fact that that one villager was stuck for a bit, but I mean, that happens. And blue brings in the boar, and so far so good for Vital Tie. Vital Tie is looking real clean. Little food drop-off, maybe? Food drop-off, nice. Has definitely not been as clean on this side for Red Scare. 37 seconds of TC idle time versus 1 second right now. So blue's got a nice little Vil lead to work with. Red's name isn't auto-generated, at least not by the Microsoft Store. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've never... well, that's not true. I actually have used the Microsoft Store, but I don't use it regularly. I use Steam for PC. So, but I've grown used to seeing names and realizing, okay, that person probably didn't create that one. But they could have just gone to like a username generator website or whatever. And maybe Red Scare is something that we're not aware of, you know? Like maybe that's a reference to something. And actually, someone in chat has either Googled it or knew about this. It says Red Scare refers to political propaganda against communism. No idea that year you're referring to, though, since I don't think anything referred to as Red Scare happened prior to World War I. Well, thank you very much for the information. We've had a blue scare over here. She has fallen flat on her face, and she's now sinking into the ground. So as I was reading that the Red Scare paragraph there, blue has lost a villager to a boar. So it shows that, you know, your 1050 elo or 1060 elo, you're well out of that low elo legend range, but you still can make some mistakes. Okay, let's look at scouting. So blue has found red's berries, and red has found blue's base, found the woodline, and found the gold so far. So really good scouting from these two. Okay, it's also a character in a TV series. Wow, we're getting all the background on these people right now. All right. And look at that. Blue sees the scout and realizes that scout might attack me. So let's just make a palisade wall. All right, we're going to have a barracks now. Red keeps moving. And red is going for 2 lumber camps, which is usually build up towards a scout play. And red, where are you going, buddy? Where are you going? Wow, okay, thankfully blue didn't notice that. I mean, the scouting was perfect, right? Like, woodline, Gold. Berries. Guess where the TC is going to be. And red almost ran right into it. But blue did not garrison. The red's going to run on home. And again, from what I'm seeing here, it does feel like this is going to be some type of a scout play for red. Most build orders are going to have 2 lumber camps with a scout build. Now, just small things you don't want to do is you never want to put a weak villager on your wood line like this. Wood lines are an exposed area. Look at red trying to be a fancy little nerd there with a quick wall. You don't need to have quite as much on wood if you are the Cumans because your stable's cheap. So that's something I think red is accounted for. You always want to be scouting the front of your opponent's base to know what they're doing. The red is coming home now, but I don't even think blue knows what he's doing. So far, it kind of looks like blue just wants to make spearmen and wall up. Okay, blue makes it to feudal age, gets the wood upgrade, gets the farm upgrade. Red still doesn't see a building there. Both players have a plan that I'm not aware of just yet. And there's red. Red drops the stable. And there is blue's eagle. All right, well, thank you guys for the updates. Thank you guys for the updates on the names. It's interesting how blue is going for small walls. This is not something that I would expect as much at mid-elo. But, like, if you're scared of scouts, I would say making a spearman or 2 is not necessarily bad. These are good small walls, though. Okay, we don't need more copy and paste, though, of the details of the usernames. Unless you guys want to research Vital Tie for me. Google Vital Tie and give me a copy pasta on that one, please. Thank you. All right, so this is good. We got some houses. You're going to need houses anyways. So double house here and then eventual palisade wall possibly. Here comes red. Red's looking for damage. Blue still says, I don't need spearmen. Eventually, these villagers will have to leave here, but for now, they're safe. And really good job from blue to get those small walls down, I have to say. Red, producing scouts. Good work. This is something that takes a lot of practice. The build-up towards scouts, but then creating villagers, creating scouts, and then microing the scouts and putting the villagers on farms. Now, maybe blue didn't know exactly what his opponent was doing, or maybe blue said, I'm fine. Like, I don't need spearmen. Blue's going to repair, and blue's going to go spears. Now, this is where it gets really interesting in an Arabia game. I know you guys are probably not going to be as interested in it as I am, but the blue is going to a counter unit against these scouts. Now, from red's perspective, you could just wall up behind this. You can go to castle age. You can decide on what you do then if you want to. At this elo, you might see some players transition and you might not see others transition. It really depends on the individual. But especially with a cheap archer range, if you see the spearmen and, oh man, those scouts are almost through. Actually, red's waiting. Look, look, look. Red's like, that tree's about to be chopped. Red's trying to wait on this. Sneaky play, red, but now the spearmen are here. Oh, and the scouts are in. Wow, what a play. I mean, we'll see if it pays off. And red walls him in and says, you're trapped in here with me. Call the ambulance for you, not for me. That type of a situation. But if the scout... Oh, man. I was going to say, if the scout had killed 2 villagers, it's probably worth it. But overall, I think that's actually pretty good. Pretty decent for both players. Red killed a villager. And blue now doesn't have any army to worry about, so... But again, like, in theory, what you could do there, and maybe 1100 elo is too difficult. You could keep the scouts alive, drop an archer range, and just 1 or 2 archers with those scouts, and all the spearmen, you know, die, and then your scouts and archers can be all over your opponent. But that's a lot of work, right? Idle tie could refer to those bonds you create with other people that turn into codependence. like you guys with me, and me with you. Is that describing my relationship with my viewers right now? Oh boy. 16 farms for blue. I love that. I could be a little picky and say that maybe blue should farm a little bit more around the mill. This is all good. And so blue said, hey, I want Spearman for any scouts, and then maybe he wants to go Spearman Monk. So far has not seen any sign that that can't work. And here comes the scout from red, and I'm loving this game so far. See, very impressed. I would say that it's going to be tough for Vital Tie to play this defensive forever, right? Like, if this is a player who wants to eventually be a world champion, you probably don't want to play this defensive that frequently. But it is a player style thing. And honestly, I can't say that blue hasn't done a good job at it. Blue's done a really good job at it. Both players on the way up will have really solid castle age times. And blue has lost 2 villagers in this game. One, of course, to a boar, and then one to red scarce scouts earlier. Looks like it's going to be eagles here for Vital Tie. So eagles will produce very slowly in feudal age. They start to produce faster in castle age. Eagles also get 7 base attack at the start of castle age, so they become stronger then. Got some walling here from red. Second stable and a third stable for red. Wow. Okay, so what red wants to be really aggressive. Red also going to stone, so all of this tells me red will not be booming. If red adds a town center with these decisions, I would consider that a mistake. If you're trying to, you know, play as close to perfect as possible. I somehow sense that red is going to drop a TC as well. Especially on the forward gold, it might just be too tempting. But again, you could build it now if you wanted to, humans. Blue is going to send a villager forward. Red now hits castle age. Should immediately produce knights. Okay, the scout's been forgotten about, so they will likely die there. Okay, it does go down. We have knights on the way from the stables. And blue wants to go for siege workshop. All right, now, here's the thing. So, blue's strategy is very much strong. But if you're going for this, double barracks is not something I'd suggest. I personally would say triple barracks. But I guess, you know, if you think about it, blue's also able to invest into a lot of stuff right now. Like, what tells you that these players are playing really good Age of Empires right now is the fact that they're not floating a lot of resources. They're spending almost all the time. Concern I have for blue, though, is these knights are in a high enough number to fight back your whole army. And that villager's going to go down. And the knights get the hill. They've got bloodlines. They've got armor. They've got attack. And they're not eagle warriors yet. And so, like, it's always a really tough thing to judge when you try and go forward. But, you know, I would say that if your opponent has shown knights, you always want to start with the monastery before the siege. Whereas if your opponent has shown archers, obviously you're going to start with the siege before the monastery. So that might help some of you guys, but you also might just say, T90, you're crazy. This doesn't help me at all. You know, I'm trying my best. Also, what's up, supplies? Tell your doctor I said hello. Now, there's a TC from blue, so blue says, all right, my push has failed. And red's still like, oh, they're going to kill me, raw. And red's like going in crazy, right? So, obviously wasn't ideal for blue, but also not the end of the world. And the choice is pikemen now and TCs. So you lose a couple villagers. You gain those villagers back by dropping the town centers. I also really like the TC position. And I love the eco upgrades from blue. Red's going to drop the TC now as well. Red has lots of gold, lots of wood. Those resources probably should be spent in some way. We could even see the third town center for red possibly, but it's all, you know, up to what you think is best. Now, the pikemen are not in high enough number to excite me right now. Red's going to come in here and kill a villager. But this is becoming a situation where it can get more and more awkward for the knight player because you've seen pikes. If the opponent continues to make pikes and you continue to make knights, in theory, it could be a problem. But what you can also do is you can use knights effectively with their speed. And I'm loving Red's insistence upon this. So many people would just run away. Like, that is how some of the game can be played. But what really makes this game perfect and what makes it like the beautiful chess match that Age of Empires 2 feels like is how you can use each unit as well. It's the cost of each unit. It's how each unit fights against another, but it's how you can. And so red tries to split off. It's not going to be perfect, right? So red split off to kill some Vils. And red can't break in there, and now red says, well, I need to run away. 45 villagers versus 51. Dang, is this really 1060 elo? This is insane, man. This is so good. Third TC now as well. This feels like it's higher elo than 1060 to me. Like, I could easily, if I didn't have the elo on screen, have guessed these guys were like 1400. We'll have a castle potentially soon for Red Scare. Now, the weakness of the Cumans is that they're a bit of a one-sided civilization. They do not have very good range units. But the Kipchak is, I'd say, situational and very good against Halbs, let's just say. I don't know if they get supplies, but they could also go for Champion. So, Champion's an option if you're up against Eagles and Pikemen. I guess, you know, I don't hate that castle spot, but I would say place your castle here. Right? At least get it on a hill. But it almost feels like red wants to place the castle on his opponent's face right now. And if you've got this many upgrades, you could definitely consider it. Oh no, what does that do? This castle is far enough in the middle where it doesn't protect your eco. And far enough forward where... sorry, I should say, but not forward enough where it does anything to your opponent's eco. But it is still a somewhat forward castle. Man, red is a micro nerd. Look at that. Continues to split up his knights. Being super, super annoying at that. Dang. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to gauge, right? Like, I talk about it all the time. Knights with these upgrades can fight a pikeman one-on-one. So realistically, with these army numbers, red would be able to dominate. And a castle forward would be huge. But... red, you'd have to almost send your knights forward and be active with them to know. Yeah, what I would like you're thinking protective castles. Place a castle even here or here, and then just mine more stone next to it. So you protect your ability to get more castles in the future. But hey, Knight Scorpion is the choice from red. A Red Scare's name, very fitting. I also think there was a hole here, so the knights could always run in. And the pressure is about to be on. We have blue dropping a castle here. It is in the back of your base, but I see what blue's thinking because it's near the golds. Now, does red realize how good Knight Scorpion's going to be here? I think red seems to realize. Blue's a little scared. Okay, it's just one Scorpion in this fight, but you've got more back here. And red is probably trying to do other things, and this is what makes this game so tough. Like, this engagement could be so much better for red if red had the Scorpions and if red had fought with the whole army. Still, red is going to win the fight, but it wasn't the best fight ever compared to what it maybe could have been. But that, again, is an example of how solid knights can be with a little bit of support, even against pikemen. Again, in even numbers, right? Blue now terrified that this could get out of hand. Blue's probably like, are you kidding me? I lost that fight? Knights are insane. So we'll drop a castle here. The Scorpions continue to move in. If red were to see this, red could deny this. No problem. Red doesn't see it. More and more pikemen on the way. More and more knights on the way. Red loving life with the knight production. And really good pullbacks here. I like it. But, oh, man, how frustrated is red going to be when this castle's up? I mean, red could still all in right through the middle here. I like how red has hit the production. You take out one barracks. That's one less barracks that your opponent has to produce from. Blue should honestly go for Kamayuks. Yeah, Kamayuks would be really solid. Okay, for the first time, red sees the castle. So, here's my suggestion for red. Your opponent's got a castle. You've got really good army. Don't pull back. Don't pull back. Just because you're stopping producing doesn't mean you have to pull back. But continue to be aggressive. But start to think about Imperial Age. Because, like, at this point, blue is terrified you're going to come back. You put your opponent in a position where they're going to stop producing. Or, sorry, red has put his opponent in a position where he's going to produce a lot. And red just wanted to do a little loop-de-loop, I guess. And loops around. Man, red has been really good. But, guys, blue has been react all game. And that is something I alluded to earlier. It's just not going to bode well for you. Hey, don't get me wrong. Blue's eco has been good. Blue's on the way to imp. Blue's unfortunately losing villagers, but still does have Kamayuks. Will have multiple castles. Can still win the game. But you see how good players can brutalize you if you play so defensive. Yes, the weakness here for red would just be the fact that red still hasn't clicked up, right? This has taken a lot of red's time and focus. And with the Eco KD being 25-0, and that'll probably even continue to change. So blue is on the way to the Imperial Age with only 69 villagers. Side bonus that I didn't bring up earlier as another villager goes down is that Inca villagers are affected by blacksmith upgrades on infantry. But that is only from the Castle Age onward, so that has actually helped a little bit with the raids. Yo, Digital, what's up? Says, been too long since I caught a T90 stream. Are you planning to sue LG for their new T90Q earbuds? What? They're ruining my brand. Well, how do they sound? I don't know. Maybe this is a good time for a sponsorship opportunity. Look at the resources for red. If you're a player like red, the market is your best friend. Because you have the villagers, but sometimes you're just not able to pull the villagers off of wood to farm. Red's done a tremendous job raiding. He'll hit one spot, the opponent will send army there, and then he goes to hit another spot. Red has been a beast with the raids. Blue will have to get Kamayuks there. And look, the Kamayuks are still thinking about maybe a Treb push in the middle. Now all the Kamayuks have to run back. This is when you cannot counterattack, right? If you cannot counterattack, this is precisely what should happen to you at this elo and above. Again, I have to give Red Scare all the credit, though, because Red Scare has made it look really easy. Okay, Blue, you've kind of got it wrong. Like, I don't mean counterattack now. Like, you have to deal with this. Blue's like, counterattack, you say? All right, let's go. Funnily enough, though, like, this counterattack could change the entire game, right? Like, red does not have a castle there. Red still wanting to make knights, and fully upgraded Castle Age Kamayuks will take care of those knights. Now, can they take out the TC? Maybe. I mean, they could poke down villagers. That's good. I would say just moving around in red's eco is probably the play. Okay, pokey, 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 poke. We do have Trebs on the way for blue. We'll see if blue is able to keep those Trebs alive. Red, notice you stop producing. I think red could lose this game here, guys. He doesn't have another unit right now. Remember, he never transitioned into range in Feudal Age. And the Scorpions were never... Well, they haven't been effective for a bit. And the Kamayuks are everywhere. Look at the Vil count. Are you kidding me? The Knights will clear this up barely, and a lot of the Kamayuks have to die. But now blue has Kamayuks and a Treb. Blue has to protect these Trebs now. Blue should be able to do so. And now red makes it to the Imperial Age. And let's see. This is an awesome game. 74 population versus 76. 60 villagers versus 56. Idols everywhere. The idle eco time is even close, as is the army value. Again, I do think red would benefit hugely from a market, but blue doesn't even have any imp upgrades on the Kamayuks. And these Scorpions, unfortunately, were not patrolled forward. They run into the Kamayuks. Kamayuks having a bit of range is always so nice here. But now the Kamayuks have gone too far forward, and red says, I'm going for the Trebs. The red buys time. Red could take out one. I mean, could even take out both, but at what cost? Take that, Treb. Might as well take the next one, red. And so one Treb still stands, and now red is going to switch into Kamayuks, a unit that can be, or Kipchaks, excuse me, a unit that's being produced out of the castle that's being Trebbed down. Wow. Well, blue has the castle numbers. Blue has the trep. So blue should just continue to do the same thing. Continue to invest in the upgrades. Blue has more trebs on the way. I think blue uses maybe the select all castle hotkey or something, because produce from here, and is also producing from here. Oh my god, red just baited blue into the castle fire though. That was really slick. Red still needs to get blacksmith upgrades. Kipchaks have 60 HP. That's not a lot, but they're super mobile. And wow, look at how sneaky this is from red. I love it. You gonna hit me? No, you're not gonna hit me. Or yes, you are gonna hit me. Knight goes in. Super micro intensive right now. Their APMs have got to be spiking. But red, I mean, you're gonna have to go into a unit that you don't produce out of castles. Look at the idols back here from that earlier raid. So hard for red to deal with that. The unit's got 4 base attack. And there's no other upgrades. 4 attack. They're doing 1 damage a hit right now against the Kamayuks, actually. It's a castle fire that's going to help more than anything. Okay. Yeah, what's their base range as well? Their base range is 4. I mean, I will give red credit for the micro here, because the micro has actually been really good. But well done from blue. You maybe went a little too crazy with the trebs. Blue has too many trebuchets, I'd say, but now blue's going to queue in eagles, because blue realizes that you need something with higher pierce armor against an archer unit, which is perfect. And I don't know if I can see red bringing this back. Like, red has already not thought about champion. Red's eco is in ruins, and blue can just steamroll this push right across the map. This is a situation where if you have stone, you send 10 vills, you drop a castle in red's face, and then you just treb everything down beneath the castle. And wow, the GG's called. I didn't expect that one. Okay, so how many people here thought that Vital Tie was going to win this game after how this was going? The raids were looking so good from red. Red seems like a player who's probably, you know, a bit of a one-sided player, right? Like, plays into Knights and Eco, can win a lot of games that way, but might run into problems when other things are needed. And, I mean, that's Kumins as a whole, to be fair to red, right? Like, red might be rewatching this later saying, hey, what else am I supposed to do? But we're going to talk about that here in a second. So first off, like, right about here, I felt like red's raids were working wonders. I mean, even up to this point, red's raids were still doing damage, doing damage, doing damage. So right after this fight, remember we talked about that one. Right after that fight, red decides to make more knights. That's not a bad decision. I think it's a fine decision. You want more army, you want to continue to pressure. That's okay. But when you take a big fight that's probably going to keep your opponent I can't speak, sorry. In the castle age longer than you. That's also an invitation to maybe take your foot off the gas and get to the Imperial Age faster. Because remember, red never took an engagement with knights in this game that had imp upgrades. It was always castle age. But even here, the fight continues. Even here, the fight continues. And now you start to see this wood count creep up. So it is tricky when you're playing with a civilization that doesn't get bracer. So it might be a tricky example. And it is also tricky to want to mix in range when Kamayuks are fairly decent against that. And also, they can always switch into eagles. But I really love the idea. Like, the wood count just kept going up and up and up and up and up. I really like the idea at this type of position if you're red. You just got to get imp, right? Like, you've got to use a market, sell some of that wood, and just click up to the Imperial Age. And then you can use the cheap archer ranges, and you can make some type of ranged counter. Again, probably one of the worst civs to have to switch into anything else, but you could maybe go into skirmishers to help out with a bit of range. Now, I think ideally you want like Cavalier with imp upgrades, and then you make a switch into something else. Because I think with the way this game was flowing, it would have been realistic for red to have an imp time which was actually better than blues. As you can see, blues were up way faster. And you know, maybe with those upgrades, You take a good fight, and then you switch into champion or something. Yeah, those are kind of my that's kind of my take. Like, Incas are a really good civilization. I think they're a better 1v1 civilization than the Kumans are on open maps. And Kamayuk is an underrated unique unit. Decent Pierce armor, really solid HP. The way they attack units is insane. And this is a civilization that also gets Halberdier. But the fact that Blue won this game, when the Eco KD looks as it does right now, this is unbelievable. 55-0 Eco KD for Red at this stage. Now, obviously, it changes, but that's a crazy stat right there. Then it ends up being like 56-31. And yeah, I guess the game ends there. What were the differences in resources collected? I'm guessing Red just had a ton of wood. What? Well, actually, that doesn't surprise me that much because let's look at it right here. Even that's insane. I still stand by what I said a bit earlier about Blue and how players are going to do dances all around you if you try and play too defensive. But honestly, well played to Blue with that macro. Blue just kept saying, come at me, come at me, come at me, inviting all this pressure, and still hung on there and was ahead with the macro. And then, of course, was faster to imp and had Kamayuks. Dang. Now, one more thing, because I'm trying to be coaching-oriented, right? You have to think, how can I utilize my Civis bonuses? How can I counter this or that, right? If you look at this, right about here. Remember how Blue played this? Lots of small walls, and then Red ran into the wood line, lost the scouts, and Red said, feudal age is over for me. If your opponent's not full walled, and they're just going spearman defense, look at this. Make a couple more scouts. You're already going to gold. Let's go right about, boom. Yeah. Your archery range is 100 wood. Drop a range. Then you'd have about 5 or 6 scouts on the field. You have a couple archers with 5 or 6 scouts. This guy's not making it to Castle Age easily. That's all I'm saying. Like, you can't small wall against archers. You can't use 2 spearmen against the archers. And then the 5 or 6 scouts will kill the villagers if the villagers try and run from any resource. Now, that's a transition that higher level players do. That's a transition that might not suit this elo, but it's definitely something that I think is worth practicing like anything else if you really want to push yourself past this elo barrier. Anyways, good game. I hope people enjoyed that one. I can't believe that it was 50-0 Eco KD, and Vital Tie made it happen there with the Kamayuks, but Inca's OP, I guess. Let's go.